All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Good morning, everybody. Wow. Okay, so here we are, 27th January, and poor Simphiwe is like the last person in the building. Look at her there. I mean, I thought we'd be out of there, but we decided just for safety's sake, because we're still setting up everything. I mean, like from the ground up. You look good in there. Look at you.
Yeah, this is the proper makeshift studio. So yeah.
There's nothing there. It's basically you, Ryan, and the internet. That's all that's left in the building.
Yes, with one chair.
One chair that I left there on purpose, thinking that there's going to be a use for it, but I've got to collect it today. So it's really down to the bones. There's nothing left.
Nothing at all. So yeah, it's done. It's official. I feel like the move is already done. Like my mind is already like, oh, the new place. Like, yay. Can't wait for
Well,
people to see it.
I mean, the funniest thing is the last two people I saw yesterday in the afternoon. I left at about 6:30. Yeah, last people I saw were Simphiwe and Homolemo at the new studios. And wow, was that a long day, huh, Simphiwe?
It was. It was absolutely a long day. We did it literally went from packing to unpacking, and then it's like, oh, this needs to be brought. Oh, that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we need to move that. Like, guys, now I understand why moving is so stressful. I now
Moving,
understand why.
moving is some people's very worst trauma. They hate it more than anything else. They'll rank moving as more stressful than divorce, more stressful than death in the family, more stressful than losing your job. A lot of people hate it. Look, I don't mind moving. I mean, hugely stressful, and boxes and packing and unpacking and realizing that something's gone missing somewhere between the old and the new, and kind of climbing up ladders and climbing down ladders and using hammers and chisels and screwdrivers and smashing certain things and leaving other things. And I mean, it's all just chaos, right? It's all chaos. But it's amazing how much can be done in a day. Like yesterday, what we got to the studio at about 5:30, and then I think I only left like last night when it was already dark. But you could get a lot done in a day. Some people are sitting on the internet, like looking at social media all day, and you're like, all right, you go ahead, you do that. So it's all happening. We will be live on Monday from our new premises with something special for markets.com, which I'm very excited about. I'm also excited to say that Johannesburg Business School will be back this year with JJ Cornish and a whole lot more from him. And we're going to do a whole lot of new stuff. So if you are interested in joining us on this journey, let us know, because we want to hear from you, and maybe you've got some ideas. But it's all changing, and it's going to be exciting change. None of it is change for the wrong reasons. It's all for the right reasons. So let us know. Contact@cliffcentral.com. I did get involved in a conversation yesterday with Simphiwe and everybody else, because Lebang brought some popcorn, and everybody was tucking into the popcorn. Got us talking about movies and popcorn, and there was this huge debate going on in the office, which is something I'm not surprised if it goes on everywhere else, in everybody else's office too. But I was horrified to hear that Ryan and Simphiwe and Lebang all take popcorn, which is savory, salty, nice. It's a nice movie snack. Everybody in the world knows popcorn. And they like to add the sweet stuff to the savory stuff and eat it together. So they'll pour a box of Astros or something into the popcorn. Ugh. So you're mixing salt and sweet and the popcorn taste with the chocolatey taste. And I was horrified. Luckily, it wasn't just me. Homolemo agreed. He also thought, no, that's gross. But there was a huge debate after that. People like shouting at each other. It became furious.
I am still shocked that you don't do that, Gareth. Like, why not? It's so yummy. It's delicious. And it's almost like a 2-in-1 like saving mechanism, because you just dunk your your snacks, the popcorn thing, you have one thing to like worry about, and then you have your
Yes.
slash, and it's like "Gumonate, gumonate," Gareth. I don't understand why you don't do it.
It's disgusting, man. Yuck.
Like what do you like? Even Ruth says, "Yeah, add Smarties." Like, yes, girl, let's make this a feast.
Yuck.
Add Smarties, some Astros there. Maybe some sour.
Ew.
It's a vibe, Gareth. Why are you judging? Why are you judging?
No, you can't. Look, I don't know. Maybe it's because I used to eat my meal. Like most people will eat a little bit of um, the carbs, then a bit of the meat, then a bit of the veggies or whatever, and they'll put them all on one fork. I eat all of the one, then all of the
Mhm.
other, then all of the other. I don't mix the stuff.
So you don't do a
I'm
mixed masala, Gareth, where it's just
mm-mm.
ooh.
Well, I eat it all. I mean, I'm not a fussy eater, but I don't mix the stuff. So I'll do one at a time, and then I'll get through all of them. And I mean, here Carla brought up exactly what I was going to mention, and I think I did mention it yesterday. I said, "What do you people also like that salted caramel stuff?"
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Mm,
Again,
coconut, Gareth. So nice,
caramel.
so
I
delicious.
get, no, no, but you guys, your stomachs must be like concrete mixes. I mean,
No, just open to trying new things. I think also one of the like cool things I've tried is like having like ice cream with
mm.
like McDonald's fries. So you just dunk one of the chippies in the ice cream and you have that with absolutely divine.
Disgusting. See, again, there's something horrendous. What are you, savage animals? You people that do this? Honestly, that's disgusting. A chip in ice cream. Ugh.
Yes,
To
and you
me,
just oh.
again, I mean, if dairy mixes with fried stuff, it's just terrible. It's a terrible, terrible idea.
So you would not try like a waffle with like fried chicken, like you wouldn't do
Hell
that.
no. I don't even. No, 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 no. I mean, I don't even like meat on a pizza. And I like meat. Don't get me wrong. So I eat lots of everything. I'm not a fussy eater, as I said earlier, but
Hmm.
I don't like mixing it all together. I don't know why you guys would do this. I mean, your mouth must get very confused because one minute it's tasting sweet, the next minute it's tasting salty, the next minute it's tasting sour, next minute it's tasting, uh, what's the other one? There's sour, sweet. But I can't remember anyway. It's a bad mix. And I mean, Cunning Stunt points out rightly, it's a pineapple on pizza situation. I don't actually have that much of an issue with pineapple on pizza,
Hmm.
ironically, because I think pizzas sort of break the rule. People put whatever they want on pizzas.
Hmm.
You know what my favorite pizza is, right?
No.
You're going to die of boredom. Plain margarita, and I'll put some chili on it. That's it. That's all. Happy. I had that for lunch on, what was it, Monday or Tuesday? One of the two. It's great. Like margarita pizza, which has got the tomato, it's got the mozzarella, a little bit of herbs and stuff, and then some chili. That's all you need. You guys, you know what the problem is? Is like people have got too many choices these days. It's all too exciting. They add some of that, add some of this, add some of. Eventually, what you've got is like this disgusting, and obviously, all these cooking problems are to blame. Programs are to blame. Problems or programs, you decide. But they're all the same. It's appalling. These people are trying to be creative, but what they're doing is they're ruining good food.
I mean, I've seen a few videos on TikTok where I'm like, this does not look good. I don't know why we're taking macaroni and we adding all sorts of like crazy
Mm,
things in it. But then there's also like cool things. Like I promise you, the waffle and chicken, it's a good combo. The ice cream and fries, good combo. The popcorn and the snacks, good combo. Like those three, you can't go wrong, and it's just absolutely amazing. That's all I'm
well,
saying.
just a few things in the comments here. Some people agreeing with you again. B says, if I do that, I'm constantly trying to find the Astros, then I don't enjoy the popcorn.
Oh.
Matthew, thank you, standing up for me, saying Gareth is normal. That's good. And if that's, I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment, but yes, I'm normal. Um, Sibanda says, I hate Nigerian food. They mix everything. It's gross. Okay, Sibanda, I didn't know that, but that's useful to know. Fries and ice cream is a step too far, way too far, says even Dr. Robin. See? I want. Ugh. Ruth says I had ice cream with chili. Ugh. Matthew says fried ice cream. Again, now you're taking something that is cold and you're making it hot. It's disgusting. Sorry. No good. Crispy
Don't knock
bacon
it until you try it.
pancake and maple syrup. Appalling, a lion. That is appalling. You cannot mix bacon with pancakes and maple syrup. Again, the one is savory, the other one is sweet. What is wrong with you people? Seriously. This is disgusting. Tabo says that's not pizza, Gareth. That's garlic bread. Well, I'll tell you what, there are a bunch of Italians who would disagree with you. Gareth, have you ever had Bamba chips, a peanut chip snack? It tastes like fillings with peanut butter or flings with peanut butter. Yuck. Sounds
okay,
gross.
that doesn't sound yummy.
Doesn't
sound yummy at all.
You see, again, like everybody has their tastes, right? So everybody has their thing. I just want to go to a comment that Carl made earlier because he wanted to get all political. He says, I have an idea, get Pumi to maybe actually look at what the DA is doing. So, Carl, it's no politics Friday, I'm afraid. I think I made it clear during yesterday's Burning Platform, just to stand up for you and your position here, Carl. I made it clear yesterday that I'm tired of people holding certain political parties to this standard and other political parties to that standard, and not even realizing that they're applying hypocritical standards. So I did bring that up with Pumi, and she and I will always have disagreements and agreements. It's not like we have to be on the same page on everything, but I made my point there, and I'm not going to carry on with it, if you don't mind, Carl, because it's Friday, and I really don't give a fuck about the DA or the ANC today. All right? If you don't mind. Ooh, Tracy says, made granadilla and Campari ice cream balls with fruit harvested from our garden. Yum. Actually, that doesn't sound too bad.
That sounds yummy.
Now, alcohol is a rule breaker. I mean, what would a margarita be without salt? Huh? You need salt on the rim of a glass with margarita.
Yes.
That's nice. And with certain gins and things, you're putting fruit in there. Some of them are very sweet. That's fine. Alcohol breaks the rules because alcohol breaks everything, including your furniture, your life, your love life, your self-respect, your dignity. Alcohol breaks it all. So that's a rule breaker.
I will say when it comes to also ice cream is kind of like the rule breaker as well. I think the most like out there ice cream I've ever had is Rooibos and Quick Sister as a flavor. And that was absolutely divine. Like,
really?
I promise you guys, it was Montebella. It was, perfect.
Simphiwe, okay. Like somebody said in the comments, to each their own. I mean, that is, these guys, like, you can do anything you want these days. And what a wonderful world to live in where you can mix all this shit together and just be disgusting. And that's fine. There are days where I know if someone was watching me if I were on a reality show like the Truman Show or whatever, or the Kardashians, you'd watch what I was eating and you'd go, ugh, that's disgusting. I'm sure there are situations like that. But I mostly am a bit of a traditionalist. I mean, you talk about ice cream. Mm-hmm. So you know what my favorite ice cream is?
Vanilla.
I won't even put chocolate sauce on. I won't. Nothing.
Gareth, oh no! You need to live a little. Like, I'm that person who goes to like an ice cream shop and I'm like, ooh, what flavors do you have today? I don't want anything usual. And then they'll be like, well, we recommend this. We'll recommend that. Like, there's peanut butter ice cream, red velvet ice cream. There is all sorts of flavors.
Is there anything better than a vanilla soft serve ice cream? Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, when you are craving ice cream. I'm just saying there's also other good flavors. Like bar one ice cream is nice. Ooh. Like Oreo ice cream is, ooh.
It's not horrible. It's not horrible. I've
But
had
it
a
hits
I've
that
had a bar
spot.
one ice cream. I had some of those. I told you that like during the holidays, I found these ice creams on a stick. You get 5
Mhm.
of them in a box, and like for a week, I was just secretly going to the fridge and like. Nom, 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 nom.
You see?
Um, by the way, how's your fasting going? Just while we're talking about food, let's talk about not food because yesterday both Simphiwe and I hadn't eaten until well after lunchtime,
Mhm.
and we eventually had something in the late afternoon. But
Yes.
did you fast the whole day yesterday as well? Because you're looking good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am counting down the days. My fast ends 12 o'clock Sunday. And I'm just like, I'm
Sure.
ready to have a proper meal. I've been doing it for the past like 2 weeks. So it's a 21-day fast. For those that don't know, I'm Christian. So a lot of Christian people at the beginning of the year tend to dedicate 21 days to kind of just aligning with God and just like making sure that the year goes right. So this is the year where you kind of,
Detox.
yeah, it's a detox and just like,
Right.
hey, what do you want to achieve and get clear? So
Right.
that's what I've been doing for the past like 2 weeks. And I'm excited to kind of just be like, whoo, I'm out. There's a bottle of
You
gin waiting for me. It has my name all over it. Come Sunday, ndi ready, guys. Throats are going to be open. And let me also share this and just like, expose the people at Cliff Central during this 2 weeks. Did the team not get not ice cream, pizza? And they're like, yeah, we're gonna have pizza and we're gonna eat it
uh,
in the office. And
you
I was
see,
like, yeah,
this why. So I was just about to say this food conversation you and I are having this morning, which came about yesterday. It's amazing how when you are on a fast or you're trying to be disciplined, that is when everybody around you does their best to tempt you. To
oh
the
yes,
the devil, the devil comes to them and says, let's get Simphiwe because she's fasting this week. Mhm.
yes. And I've gotten so many invites to go out and do
Oh
this.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't do that because I'm fasting. I'm not drinking at the moment. Don't want to. And they're like, oh, I don't know. Are you sure you don't want to come? I'm like, girl, bye. Girl, you tried it. So Sunday, I'm back to normal, guys.
Well, okay, a couple of points being made here. So Nico says it's time to eat. You're making me hungry. I'm sorry, that was not the point. It was
Mhm.
just all this debate that happened in the office yesterday. Signet says the greatest crime ever committed was the person who invented sweet and chili sauce. I don't agree. Sweet chili sauce is nice, but
It's very
again, you've got to be careful what you put it on, right?
Yes, that I do agree with. You can't just
It could
put
be
it on
such
everything.
a
Mm-mm.
disaster if you put it on the wrong thing. Okay, very important question from Congo Chris. Very important. Lemon or no lemon with tequila, or pineapple and Tabasco? Ooh. Okay.
Ooh.
Again, it's a matter of taste, but
Mhm.
I drink my tequila straight. Don't mix it with anything. The Mexicans actually do this thing where they make like a salsa, like a tomato salsa, and then they'll
Mhm.
have that after they've had a shot of tequila. But
Hmm.
I don't like lemon or pineapple with Tabasco or any of that shit. I don't think you need it. If you're drinking good tequila, you don't need all that other shit.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
I also drink it straight, but I don't know that like if it's good, then you don't need it. Okay.
Uh, so lots of people criticizing you and me on our various choices of food, but you know what? Again, you don't have to eat what I'm eating, and I don't have to eat what you're eating. What I
Mhm.
what I really hate, and this is worth discussing, maybe just a little bit, are those people who, when you go out with them, they want to pick at your food and have some of everybody's food. So I don't like to share either. I'm not one of those people who says, "Oh, order us a platter to share." I'm not into that either. You like that too, huh?
I'm definitely that girl. When I
Yeah,
go out with friends, I'm like, okay, if I'm ordering the steak, nobody else can order steak. Like somebody has to order something different so that we
right.
can all just like taste each other's food. Like it's like balling on a budget. And I'm definitely I'm definitely that girl. Like we look at the menu, I'm like, okay, if you get that and I get this, that means it's like I can taste your food. Are your fries good? Hmm. I'm also that girl that will want to take pictures of our food before we eat. So you're gonna wait an extra 5 minutes before you can get into your plate because I'm still taking like pictures and getting really great snaps of the food. I'm
Were
that
you
child.
ever I mean, who's ever going to look at those pictures again?
It's
Who's sitting around looking at old pictures of meals you've already eaten?
me. It's like,
No?
your Google pictures will remind you, like 3 years ago, you were at this restaurant and whatnot. You're like, oh, memories. Like, the food
Really?
there was great. Yes. I'm a foodie, Gareth. I love food and I love taking pictures of food that looks delicious. It's for me, it's like, oh, this is beautiful. This is a work of art that I need to appreciate before I devour it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Never ever watched any of those old ones. I've never watched, like, I've never looked at old photographs or any of that stuff. It's not a thing. Good for you, Simphiwe, but no, not something I'm interested in. Sorry. It's also, even if you've been to a party or whatever and you've had a really good time with friends, you very seldom look at those old photos again. If I asked you to look at photos from June 2019 and you've got them on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably not a lot of them you've looked at this whole last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, right?
Mm-hmm. But you
Oh,
get those reminders. Like, I think it's not even just about looking. It's like you'll get a Google reminder like 3 years ago. And it's like, oh, this is a good like memory. I forgot that I was at that place. Or, oh, damn, like this happened. But I'm also very strict on like what I take pictures of. Like, if I'm out and about with my friends, we living our best lives. I don't want no camera near me. I don't want
yeah.
that. Put away the phones. Let's have a good night. Let's rock. And then like other moments, like food moments, where I'm like, oh, this is a work. Oh, we need to take a picture of this. This is gorgeous. Like, I'm not going to see this again in like a few months. Then let's go.
All right. Well, let's do some news. There's some stuff going on in the world that we need to be paying attention to. First things first, there's a Northern Cape online dating swindler, or a couple of them, who've been posing as one or two or three guys. So here's what's been happening. A man who allegedly defrauded a woman out of 3.4 million rand. Your people are desperate for love. Oh, my God. It's an online dating scam. He was joined by 4 co-accused as he appeared in the Kimberley Magistrates Court on Thursday. Police arrested 3 women and a man. Woo! Yes, that's the makeup of the evil quartet. So 3 women and a man: Lulama Dilimini, Shapwan Fakir, Nomkebo Agrineth Sibisi, and Joanie Michaels. Nice names, guys. Nice names. In Cape Town, they were all arrested. Alongside Pius Mkope, who faces multiple fraud and money laundering charges. The group is accused of being part of a syndicate that targets and defrauds victims of their money. The accused operated a scam where they would create false online dating profiles and target vulnerable individuals by grooming them, building trust, later requesting money for ostensible emergencies, said the police in a statement. M. Kope was arrested in Cape Town in 2022 after one of his victims opened a case. He remains in custody while his co-accused, who face more than 140 fraud and money laundering charges, are expected to make their next court appearance early in February. So immediately, this reminds me of a conversation that we've had before, and we had it just the other day with, I think, Eugene and with Lebang, where we were talking about how you can be nice. Like you could try to be nice to people, and everybody gets to help. So I mean, Dory was saying yesterday in the studio that she is not going to be coming to the old building anymore, so she's changing her route. So she's not going to go past this homeless guy who she gives money to, and she had to tell him yesterday, I'm probably not going to see you for a while. And she was basically providing him with a monthly stipend. Now that's very nice, and Dory's a much nicer person than me. Because if I feel like giving money, I give. If I don't feel like giving, I don't. I don't feel compelled. I don't feel compelled to. And there are a lot of people suffering in the world today, and you can't help everybody, even if you want to, even if you try to be the nicest person in the whole world. There's just too much need. So, again, if you can help people, and maybe you want to, maybe you don't on any given day, there are some people who are actively trying to swindle us, like this dating scam circle. And I feel sorry for people because they're so desperate for love. They're so desperate to be in a relationship, to be wanted, all of that stuff, that they are vulnerable as hell to, handing over money, driving vast distances, booking people plane tickets, or anything to just be with the person who you think might
Yes.
be your person. And I think that this is just so sad. It shows you how desperate some people are. There's
Yes.
desperate for money, which is horrible. We've all been desperate for money at some point in our lives. Might be people listening to us this morning who are desperate for money. It's January. It's probably a lot of us.
Hmm.
But desperate for love is way, way worse, because you will make much more stupid decisions if you're
Yes.
desperate for love.
Yeah, and I think with like these kind of scams is how they reel them in. So in the beginning, it's
Yeah.
that whole honeymoon. This is
Mhm.
the life you're gonna live. This is what I'm gonna do for you. And so people think, oh my gosh, I've met my Prince Charming. Ganti, it's just a frog. It's just a Mister, who's going to steal your money. Like, and then so 3 months later, you're like, of course I'll give you my life savings because you've been flying me out to Dubai. Ganti. So it's sad. Get
Well,
off Tinder.
Rita Ora, the British pop singer, says there are different faces to love. It's not just being in love with a person. You could be in love with going and getting a drink. She's not wrong. She
That
is
is
not.
true. That is very true.
Um, Again, you feel sorry for the victims, but at the same time, you're like, you got to be really stupid to fall for some of this stuff, especially if there's always the person who's scamming you, who's trying to. They say in this news piece that the guy was pretending that he was dealing with family emergencies. So it's always like, oh, someone in my family has died. I desperately need money for the funeral, or I
Mm.
need money to travel, or the medical bills, or it's always some desperate situation. I'm sorry, but if you don't know someone personally, and even when you do know someone personally, those expenses are their expenses. We all have financial difficulties. And if you want to help somebody, you go ahead and do it. That's great. That's nice of you. But if you're feeling the pinch, which,
Mm.
let's be honest, most people in South Africa are feeling the pinch. There are very few people who have extra money lying around. Then don't feel compelled to pay for anyone else's problems. Just don't. Sorry.
Yes, that is true. And I watched a TikTok video of this girl. She did a list of like, 10 things I'll never do. And one of
Mhm.
the things is like, I'll never give a man money. And she's like, if his business idea is that great, his mom, his dad, the bank can fund all of his dreams or whatever problems come with it. So if he can't afford the hospital bill, he can take out a loan, he can go to his mom, he can go to the parents. I, as your girlfriend, will not cough out any money. I'm not doing that. I'm here for love. And love also means I need to like take care of me. And I think like hearing that, I'm like, a lot of people need to
Right.
adopt that. Like, don't just be giving money out willy nilly and like, oh yeah, I trust you. Chalete. There's no trust to chalete. Don't do that.
No.
Don't just pray for them. It's okay. They'll be fine.
Well, here's an interesting story, which is reported much more in the gossip news than it is in the news, but it's still worth talking about. David Attenborough, of course, is winding down his work at the ripe old age of 96, and he's a worldwide hero. Who doesn't love David Attenborough? He's one of the people in the world who just, I don't think there's anyone who actively hates him. And if there are, you got to examine your life if you hate David Attenborough. But the team at the BBC, who've been doing all these nature documentaries with him for years, since like the 1960s, have been looking for a successor to continue his TV work and his legacy, and to keep the focus on nature and all of those amazing shows that he used to do. Who has the right combination, public standing, and environmental chops to assume the legendary mantle of David Attenborough? Do you have any ideas?
No. No. Not
Neither do I.
top of mind.
Me too. I've been thinking about it, and there's just no one who I can imagine would actually live up to what we need there, in and has the credibility and the likability. Well,
Yeah.
one person that was initially considered, according to the BBC or gossip at the BBC, is Prince Harry.
Oh
They
wow.
were, yeah, they were talking to Prince Harry apparently, and they started conversations with him because he's obviously, he's a big nature lover, and even in his book, he talks about Botswana a lot and how he loves animals. So they were thinking seriously about him, among others. But apparently the conversation fizzled out when Team Sussex began asking questions about how both of them could best be utilized on screen. So it's like Meghan and Harry or nothing. So there we go. And who really wants to hear from Meghan Markle about nature? I don't think she spent more than 5 minutes in nature. She's a proper, Hollywood girl through and through. So there we go. Just in case you were wondering, Prince Harry will not be considered as a successor for David Attenborough. And for some people, that was an outrageous idea in the beginning anyway. So I wonder what you think of that. Let us know on the comments. Greta Attenborough, somebody says. Greta Thunberg. Yeah, you want a sour-faced, scolding, angry, bitter and twisted, resentful person presenting. And here are the bats. They live in this cave, but we hate them. We hate the bats. Why would we want to help the bats? Right? Don't want that shouting at you from your screen.
I thought we wanted someone was like warm and friendly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the opposite. That's scary and no.
Right.
Don't want to listen to that.
You literally be shat on from the moment you switch on the documentary. You'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't want to be shouted at for the whole 50 minutes or 60 or 70 minutes that this thing carries on for. No, thank you. All right, so let's see what else we got here. South Africa has received a global award for our efforts in combating malaria. There's a potentially good news story for a Friday morning. So apparently,
get money?
The World Health Organization has given a global award to us. I don't know if I would accept an award from the WHO, considering their track record over the last 2 years. I think the right thing to do with the WHO is give them back their award. Say, guys, we don't want this from you. So there's always a sting in the tail, if you'll pardon the pun, about malaria. So, all right. South Africa was among other countries, so we didn't even get this on our own, that received the Effort Against Malaria Award at the forum. This is the first time the WHO has given awards outside of those countries that have achieved malaria elimination, like El Salvador and China. They've actually eliminated malaria in those countries. So it can be done. We should be eliminating it, frankly. The preventable disease is mainly transmitted seasonally. The National Health Department has implemented various programs to put an end to the disease in the country. I also think it's fair to mention at this point that a lot of the money for fighting malaria doesn't come from our National Health Department. It comes from international donors and foundations that are doing this actively. I know Yvonne Chaka Chaka had a lot to do with it. Nando's also had a lot to do with it at a stage. So this is not something that I want our health department to be claiming is their success, even though they haven't eliminated malaria. They've downgraded the award to give it to countries that are doing a good job. It's like that slow, stupid child in the class, and you're like, shame, you've done a really good job. You've worked very hard this year, Tommy. Tommy goes, thanks, teacher. Meantime, Tommy's just really, really stupid, but you've got to give him something, right? Otherwise, he's going to give up. So that's kind of how I feel this award goes. Sorry, it started off looking good, but as we went into it, you realized like WHO, like you didn't actually eliminate malaria.
It just
downgrade.
Yeah, it just
downgrade. It went horribly wrong. Sorry. Yeah. I was hoping there was a good news story, but you got to dig a little deeper. So obviously not that much worth celebrating there. But this is interesting. There is a space rock that is passed closer than some satellites to Earth, Asteroid 2023BU. And apparently it's heading here again, about the size of a minibus taxi. The space rock, which is known as 2023BU, has already whipped over the southern tip of South America. That was just before midnight last night. Closest approach was only 3,600 kilometers. That counts as a close shave.
Yeah.
Illustrates. Okay. There are still asteroids of significant size lurking near Earth that remain to be detected. This one was picked up last weekend. Ooh.
Yeah.
That doesn't give you a lot of time to do anything. And again, the smartest scientists in the world have said repeatedly, this is not news, they've said repeatedly that the biggest danger facing humanity is the approach of a near Earth orbiting satellite of some kind, asteroid, comet, ball of stone, whatever it might be that's around us. These are the things that are likeliest to take us out. I mean, they took out the dinosaurs. That's what they've figured out in the last few years, is that the dinosaurs weren't just mysteriously wiped out. It was very obvious what killed them, and it was an asteroid that plunged into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in the Gulf of Mexico, and that created all of the suffering and the pain and the destruction, and years and years and years, thousands of years of the Earth being shrouded in a cloud where no light got through the atmosphere, where there was poisonous air, where the oceans were uninhabited, where everything that wasn't extraordinarily adapted to survival died, especially the big animals on the Earth. And that's the thing that threatens us the most as a species, is the possibility of something like this smashing into Earth again. And if something the size of a taxi came between us and some of the satellites that go around us, you must know.
It's
They
bad.
only saw it for the first time last weekend. It's not a lot of time to sort these things out. Astronomers could be so confident it would miss the planet, though, because they did follow-up observations that told us about its size and, crucially, its orbit. Even though it came inside the arc occupied by the world's telecommunication satellites, which sit 36,000 kilometers above us, the chances of hitting a satellite are very, very small. The time of lowest altitude was accurately calculated to be about just after 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. And people say there was no reason to worry about this one. Yeah, well, you tell us that now,
Sure.
You say that now. But imagine how funny it would be if it hit a satellite, knocked out someone's TV viewing, and then those people were like, where's my TV channel? Not realizing that they missed extinction by this much, right?
And the way would just be like, what's going on? I don't have like connection. And then jiggy, like I think a week later, people be like, oh, we almost had a near death experience. Hey, like I was just sitting at home and I heard it. I just didn't think much of it. That's the story that's going to be going around. And it's just like, what the hell?
And then there'll be some of those people who, kind of are doing their own thing and living their own best life and posting shit on Instagram who'll go, oh, what happened? I didn't know about that. Oh, okay.
Didn't notice a single thing.
Really? What happened? All right. So we'll get to a few more of these news stories later on. Ben is joining us from 7:00 this morning. You'll be pleased to know. And Borge sent me an email early this morning to say that he is in Texas. He's at that famous car show, which we'll find out about. But Borge is not going to be joining us live because he is exhausted. He spent the entire day walking around, and he's been taking in lots of info. He sent us a little summary, but I'm going to let him tell you himself next week when he's back. By the way, a couple of comments about this. Snoop Dogg could be a good replacement for David Attenborough. He once narrated a famous BBC wild scene, snakes chasing down a lizard. It is seriously funny. I've seen that. It is hilarious. Check out the BBC's Walk on the Wild Side. They do outtakes and narrate them. It's good stuff. Or maybe Snoop Dogg, hey? That would be fun. They just have to get him.
He's a bit chilled. He's just a bit too laid back for that type of
laid
show.
Back. You mean high?
Yes.
Gerard Butler could work, or Russell Crowe, even Keanu Reeves. Okay, well, maybe, just from the point of view of the voice, it's not a bad idea. Congo Chris says, the size of a minibus taxi. Are we sure it isn't one? I wouldn't be surprised the way these guys drive. Let's send up a probe to see if it's playing doof doof music and beeping on a hooter.
No, it's going to be Maskandi. Don't worry. It will be Maskandi. And the song that will be there playing is Mashlalisane. For Mashlalisane, Must make space for your neighbor. That's the song playing.
DK says, part of humanity is the biggest threat to humanity. Focus on issues that can be influenced. Maybe. You may be right. Maybe you're right. Keep doing great work and good things. God bless you all, says Brain. Okay, thank you, Brain. It's nice to hear from you. I would think that Boksburg is a bigger threat to humanity, and that's only 40 kilometers away. Wow.
It's actually Brakpan, guys, not Boksburg. But okay.
Human Shield says, what about James Earl Jones? Now,
Ooh,
James Earl Jones is almost as old as David Attenborough. I mean, he's still around, but he can't even do the voice of Darth Vader anymore because he's really, really old. But he's
so
92. So you're gonna hand
why?
over you're gonna hand over a job that a 96-year-old has just given up to a 92-year-old. Not a good idea. I'm just saying you're wasting your time. Don't you think?
92. Yo, these people are old. Aren't they retired? Why are you still working?
Yeah.
Please just enjoy the last few years, days that you have left with your
I
family.
think you should
Not
you
worried
should
about work.
you should be allowed to enjoy your life. Once you hit 90, there's no reason to still be working. None.
Just enjoy your retirement. Just relax.
So for anyone who loves true crime, and I know
Mhm.
you're into this too, Simphiwe, we have an incredible show coming to us this Saturday. So you want to know all about this? I did an interview with the guys while we were busy packing and moving over the last
Mhm.
2 days. But take a look at this. This is a special show that we want you to know about, and all the information is here. We actually spoke to a guy who has broken his silence after 30 years of one of Britain's biggest miscarriages of justice. If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, you're in luck because it's right here, right now. Take a listen to this. Ben and Simphiwe and I return in just a moment. So here's the story for anybody who doesn't know it. Back in July 1992, a young mother called Rachel Nickel was murdered on Wimbledon Common as a 2-year-old son watched. Her death would lead to one of the most notorious miscarriages of justice in criminal history. A man called Colin Stagg was wrongly accused and imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. For 3 decades, the man who has squarely shouldered the blame for this catastrophic failing was the country's leading forensic psychologist and our guest, Professor Paul Britton. Britton, who has never ever spoken publicly on the matter, finally broke his silence in a series of exclusive interviews, and he doesn't hold anything back. That makes part of the 90-minute special, which is called The Murder That Changed Britain. What comes out of this story is a far more complex tale than you could possibly imagine. Alongside Paul Britton, who's our guest, granting his first ever interview is retired Metro Police Commander Gary Copson, who also tells the story from his point of view. And in the most dramatic twist of all, Colin Stagg, the man who was wrongly accused, finally comes face to face with the man who put him in jail, the man he always blamed for sending him to prison as an innocent man. It's riveting stuff. And our guest is Professor Paul Britton. Professor Britton, what a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for talking to us.
You're very kind.
So you've been seen by many as the founder of modern psychological profiling. You've worked on some extraordinarily high-profile cases, including the famous Fred and Rose West case, which everybody's heard of. Maybe a good place to start would be by explaining how profiling worked all those years ago when you started, 30 years ago now. What did you do as a profiler on the Rachel Nickel case?
I did exactly what I would do on any case. And by that stage, I suppose I dealt with 100 and 120 of the more serious murder cases. The Metropolitan Police came to me and asked if I would give them a psychological analysis of the person who killed Rachel Nickel. Now, at that stage, to me, it was simply, and I don't mean this horribly, simply another murder. And I used the materials that I would ordinarily use. I would use maps, I would use post-mortem materials, I would use the psychological literature, the whole array of materials. And I produced a psychological analysis that included an analysis of the internal fantasy life of the person who would have killed Rachel Nickel. So in a sense, that was my work at that stage. Later, the Metropolitan Police came back to me and said, would you please help us to we want to design an operation that would look at a particular individual in the context of this case. To do this, we're going to need undercover officers. Would you be kind to design the personalities of those two officers to help us? So that's how it began for me.
And really, at that stage, there wasn't a science, there wasn't a department or a division for criminal profiling. I mean, it was a fairly new, a new field.
You're right. At that stage, I had been asked by the police to deal with a number of cases, and so had a few other people. Because of this, the Home Office came to me and asked me if I would look internationally at psychological profiling and give advice as to what we should do on the way forward. And I did this. And one of the key things that I advised was, firstly, you get everything checked. And secondly, you don't have just anybody walking in off the street, if you like, and saying, I'd like to do that. You keep a register, and every person who's ever offered help, you look at their work, you analyze it after the event, and you build up a database. And the database allows detectives then to say who is best likely to help them with a particular case. And that's the way it's moved forward since then.
All right. In this particular case, I mean, there were a number of shortfalls. And obviously, there was this huge miscarriage of justice, which people have been talking about ever since, and which has changed the lives of so many people, quite apart from the murder itself. So can you tell us what those shortfalls were and how they led to these miscarriages of justice?
Yes, it's a sensitive issue, and I don't think the sensitivity has ever gone away, even to this day. In my advice, I had to explain to the police that there were two other streams of cases that were committed, in my opinion, by the same person. There was what we call the green chain rapes, where a number of women had been sexually assaulted and raped by this particular person. And later, two people, a mother and her tiny daughter, had been slaughtered, and I mean slaughtered, by a killer. And my view was that these, and the Rachel and the Cal killing, were all the work of the same person. And at that stage, the police weren't willing to accept that, and robustly and strongly took a different view. I was a member of a team, so I have to go with that and worked with it. Tragically, it turns out later that I was right, that it was the same person who was responsible for all these offences. And if only at the beginning, as I first suggested, people had behaved in a particular way. When we looked at the green chain rapes, it's a straightforward serial multiple rapist, but one that had terrible risk involved beyond rape. It was going to go to murder. And I explained where you would find this person, how you would locate him, what he would look like, where he would already be in the database. And unfortunately, folks didn't respond to that. Later, So
in some ways, this is bittersweet for you, because while you are vindicated in your original suggestions to them and your ideas of what kind of person they were looking for, ultimately it also leads to a guy being sent to jail, the wrong guy, and that can obviously have, you know, a much more miserable consequence for him, but also for you, because you think, well, if only they'd listened to me then.
For all these years, I have been a member, at least I thought I was, a member of a particular team. At the time, I prepared a statement that would deal with everything from my point of view. The police asked me not to do anything, not to say anything, to leave all of the public utterances, the public reporting to them. And I waited and I waited and nothing happened. And we reached a point where this particular case, or part of it, was turned into fiction. And so material was being put out that created people that were never in the case, used real names, used completely fictional, dramatic notions that never happened. And in this, a key thing is they portrayed both the police officer, who really was a brave, noble lady who did as she was instructed by her commanders. They portrayed her as a flaky young woman, and she never was like that. And also they portrayed Mr. Stagg in really a very deleterious way, and he really wasn't like that. So I suppose that was the final spur that made me think now's the time.
Yeah, I mean, there are several miscarriages of justice, and you've just outlined a few that went beyond the legal process. And the media is always looking to put someone in the position of villain and someone in the position of saint, and it's just not that simple, right, Professor?
No, it's not that simple. It never is. I mean, even today, there are still questions that I haven't had answered, and I would love to know, not just because I would love to know, but because I think it's important to investigative principles, the answers to some questions. You'll remember that Mr. Stagg was eventually charged because of certain descriptive materials that he gave to the police during interview. And they apparently, it was said, could only have come from someone who'd been there at the scene of the crime at the time. That was the Crown's view. Mr. Stagg said that wasn't the case. And of course, the court agreed with him. But I discussed with Mr. Stagg a key issue here, which is, how did he know these different materials? He could only either have been there, and he wasn't. He could have been told, he says that he wasn't. He might have been shown inadvertently pictures. He didn't think so. And yet at the same time, this poor man was able to produce very clear descriptions of what happened in this horrible crime to this young woman. And the question that comes to me and has always sat with me, well, how did he know that? And he himself doesn't really seem to know that now.
So there's even more to unpack. I mean, this is really just opening a can of worms in effect. What was that first meeting with Colin Stagg like? Because I can't imagine it was easy for either of you.
Well, much easier than you might imagine. I mean, it wasn't easy, but much easier than you might imagine. Now, if I had been in his chair over all of these years, I would have felt pretty badly towards Paul Britton. As it happened, by this stage, he processed a lot of materials, and I think he was coming to understand things slightly differently. When we met, I met a young man, well, not such a young man now, but a man who was dignified, but who above all things wanted to know what had really happened. And as I explained to him how it had happened from my point of view, that fitted with what he knew. And he and I, as we talked through it, and he asked me questions and I asked him questions, at the end of it, we were able to shake hands and, if need be, make arrange for further meetings off camera to see where I might help him with other matters.
It's incredible. I mean, it really is. It lives up to the title, The Murder That Changed Britain, doesn't it?
I think it does. And I think just as a matter of interest, the Britain they're talking about isn't me, although it did have changing effects. It's spelt differently. It's Britain, the country.
No, you're talking about the entire country.
Yes.
What about, tell me about Gary Copson, because, you know, again, we have one version of the story prior to you deciding to break your silence and a different one since then.
I think Copson is an extremely intelligent, brave man. Remember, he was a very senior police officer. He was at the heart of decision-making in the Met for his whole career. I first met him years ago when I was carrying out the review that I mentioned for the Home Office. And at first, he wasn't at all sure that I was one of the good guys. And he held back, quite suspicious about who or what my motives were. Once he had satisfied himself with that, he was an honest, straightforward policeman. Now, the thing that makes him separate in this case is that he was a part of the review team and the team that set this whole thing up in the first place, that brought me into it. And so that when I suggested you need another opinion as well as just mine, because by this time, this case had become so huge in the United Kingdom beyond anything that I come across apart from the West case and the Bulger case. It was massive. And I'm not used to that. I prefer things to be done quietly. But anyway, I thought it was very important that they had additional opinions. And so the police were able to go out and get 2 other opinions, one from the FBI, and they all, the FBI and the other psychological opinion in the UK, confirmed exactly what I had said. And I think that helped Copson to look at what he knew. And remember, he was present when many of the things that I had said happened. And I think he stuck his head above the parapet, because he then had to tell the truth, and he did.
Isn't that a nominative determinism name, Copson? And he was a policeman. It's just fascinating. I could talk to you all day, Prof. And I think that you probably have stories about those other murders that you just mentioned now. The Bulger case, which was such a famous case, not only in Britain, but all over the world. I mean, I remember endless TV coverage about that. But I know your time is limited. I really appreciate you being on our show, and I appreciate you telling us a part of this story. I can't wait for the special.
Okay. Can I leave you with just one thing? Please
of course.
Remember that this case and those other cases are not about me. They are about the 4 people who were killed and the families that have been left in grief for all these years. Please don't.
Well, absolutely. And I don't think it strikes anyone as incidental that someone like you is interested in doing the best job you can. And part of that is obviously telling your story now, just to try and fill in the blanks wherever people have got information that was obviously wrong, either because the media wanted them to get it wrong or because they portrayed people as being X, Y, or Z. And obviously these real life people have obviously, they've gone forever. And the only people who can tell these stories with any credibility are people like you. So I'm delighted to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. It's been uncomfortable over the years, but thank you.
I'm sure. Thank you so much, Professor. All right. Well, what you need to know is that special is on this weekend, and all the details will be found on cliffcentral.com too. So do not miss your chance to watch it live as it happens. It sounds like a really, really fascinating story. The Murder That Changed Britain. It's a CBS original. It is exclusively on CBS Justice, which is DSTV, channel 170, on Sunday, the 29th of January, this coming weekend at exactly 8 o'clock. Do not miss it. And isn't that guy interesting? Paul Britton. He's the guy who began psychological profiling, which is no small feat. So Simphiwe and Ben and I will join you in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. cliffcentral.com. It is Friday.
Cool.
All right, we are live, cliffcentral.com on a Friday morning. There's lots to get to, lots to talk about. I've got Simphiwe in the studio. She is, where is Simphiwe? In the hulk, the husk of what used to be cliffcentral.com. Actually, Ben popped in yesterday too, in the middle of all our moving, and it was chaos, right? You've never seen the place as messy as that, even when Jane didn't clean it.
Yeah, it was quite weird because obviously it was all the memories that came back. There was so much that happened in that studio. There was so many different moments that I often thought to myself, like, wow, I can't believe we're actually doing this, and I can't believe people are actually participating in this.
Well, I mean, this is the funny thing is that, I mean, apart from carrying heavy things all day yesterday and packing and unpacking boxes and moving furniture and climbing up and down and things and tearing shit down and, folding shit up. We had to fold up that whole backdrop in the studio. It's just, all of it was like, it was such a crazy busy day. And I got into bed last night and I was fucked. I've got to say that there's something nice about getting a lot done in a day and just that exhaustion that you feel at the end of it. You're like, there's no problem getting to sleep after a day like that, right?
No, it's very healthy.
Yeah, I think so. All right, so we will be out of that building that Simphiwe is in now by lunchtime today. I've got to swing by there on my way into the new place, and then it is done, closing that chapter.
Yes, the keys are being returned to the sender.
Exactly. Ben, how's your year started? We didn't really catch up on any of that last week, but are you guys in full flow over there at the moment? Everything going well?
Yeah, absolutely, Gareth. It's going really well. From the agency side, the sports business, this is the year. This is the actual year. Already had a weekend away, which is very productive and good and relaxing. And it's completely changing my gym routine. So it's actually been probably the busiest January, I think, of all my Januaries.
Yeah, feel the same way. Absolutely. And if that's a sign, if that's a good sign, if that's a sign that we're going to be doing cool things and making money, then I'm happy.
You have to make money because money gives you options, and with options, you never get bored.
Yeah, and you do not want to be poor in South Africa. Not a good thing for anybody because the government ain't going to help you, I'm afraid. So Ben sent me a very funny picture. He sent me a picture. You walked past some shop and you saw Harry's autobiography, and it cost something like 500 or 600 rand.
What?
For the
Too
book.
much.
Yeah, way too much. But then Ben went around taking pictures of other people's autobiographies, and they're much more reasonably priced.
Well, so this is the thing, right? If Faf du Plessis, national treasure, currently killing it in the SA20 for the Joburg Super Kings, he was quite reasonable at 318 rand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you get a black and white photo of him on the cover if you're into that. It's a proper thing, right? This Harry, spare 616 rand is almost double what you pay for Faf. He's not double the person Faf is. He can say what he wants. I don't care. Faf's achieved probably more. He's probably given back to. He's entertained us. He's been a lot more important. Which just made me think. Like I went through a stage where I read a lot of sporting autobiographies because that was my life, and then I thought, like, I haven't actually read an autobiography for so long. Obviously, I don't want to read Harry's. And with respect to Faf, I'm just not that into sport to really be too invested in his story. But I thought to myself, like, who currently would I like to see an autobiography from? And it was quite a difficult question. I didn't really have immediate answers for, because like I think we get too exposed to what's happening out there. So, in the past, an autobiography would come out and there would be completely things that you've never seen or heard before. But because everyone shares everything, like their ovaries onwards on social media, I think autobiographies have kind of lost their bit of appeal now.
mean, is there anybody you can think of, Simphiwe, that you would want to read the autobiography of right now that you don't already know everything about? Because Ben's right. People are sharing everything every day. All you have to do is follow them on social media, and you will find out all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't even get from an autobiography. I mean, some of these famous people on social media are, I mean, some of them are oversharing. Madonna, for example, who we spoke about last Friday. I mean, you can climb inside Madonna's vagina if you would like to, by following her on social media. There's no amount of expose that can be brought about by a book that's going to get you as close to Madonna as she's already letting you get close to her in her social media. So it almost takes away the reason for an autobiography. Is there anyone you'd read?
No. Mom O has already told us how she's done it, interviewed everyone and how she's doing it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm good in that regard. There's podcasts about the lady. There are TV shows. She's said it all. I don't need to read a book now by Mom O saying, "Oh, and this was my life, and this is what I did, and this is what I thought." So yeah, I think it has lost that appeal to it. But so much money for Prince Harry to tell us what, like, what?
No, exactly.
But don't you also find that nowadays, because celebrity is so easy and it doesn't mean much, everyone's a celebrity, so therefore these books also have less impetus. Because back in the day,
Correct.
you would want to hear about a story because someone's achieved something or done something very interesting. Now, and the autobiography was like the way of sort of closing the loop, so to speak, about a great life or a life that meant something. And now you get 20, 30-year-olds writing autobiographies.
Exactly.
Very odd concept.
No. Yeah, I mean, this even bothered me when the publishers wanted me to write that book, the last one I did, because I was like, well, I haven't done enough yet to be writing this. An autobiography is also something that you would write at the end of a very incredible, very productive, very successful life. And I don't know which one was the last one I read that I was blown away by. If I think just a little bit harder, I'd probably come up with a few names. But, out of all those sports biographies, what was your favorite one, Ben? Which one really changed your mind and made you think, wow, this guy or girl is way deeper and more interesting than I thought they were?
I think Steve Waugh, the cricketer. Firstly, the book was this big, and I was intrigued by, like, how could it be so big? Did he have like a meth business on the side? I mean, how could it be such a long book? But that was actually really fascinating because, I mean, I obviously grew up in the 90s where you just hated every Aussie cricketer and you wanted them to basically get meningitis at the crease. But his story was very interesting. And then Andre Agassi, again, incredibly good story because you never knew about his upbringing because there was no social media. You never knew about all the family struggles he had because it was never breaking news, or he wasn't, having emotional support issues that he put on social media. So those were still very good. Like, you would read it and go, okay, I know this guy plays tennis. I know he was successful. I know he won this, this, and this. But you never
dated
knew
all those hot women in the 80s.
Maybe another way of maybe like defending the autobiography is how a story gets packaged, because we are in like a highlights culture. We always pick up like the sort of superficial stuff. And if you have a decent writer, like Herschel Gibbs's book, for example, there was a decent writer there, but the story was just all over the place because he was still so young. And it was Herschel Gibbs, like, got drunk, burned a lot of women, incredibly talented, ultimately disappointing on his potential. And that was exactly how the story unfolded. So I think if you can package a story from a different angle and there is a bit of substance there, maybe there's still something that's really good.
Who do you think would be the autobiography that would blow all the other ones out of the water? Like, there are some people whose stories are incredible, but very few people know them. They haven't shared everything on social media. They have like this incredible tapestry. And we often talk about like the Hollywood greats and what it must have been like in those days in, the movie business. Or you've introduced me to the story of like John Varty, Ben. And there are people like that there are people there who nobody really knows, who've been operating in the world of well-known people, the world of rich people, the world of exciting adventures and, wrestling crocodiles and doing really incredible stuff. But we don't know about them because they've chosen not to share for whatever reason. Those are the people whose books I'd really want to read.
So another person, I think, like David Attenborough, I don't know if he's written a book that's been comprehensive enough or he cares enough to do that. because he shared. You've seen his life, but his life has been presenting the planet and exploring this incredible Earth. But
hasn't actually been about him.
I would love to know what the sort of links were in between. Like, who were the people that made this important? What inspired him? What interests him? And what he feels about the world? Because I think that would be a good book.
Yeah, there are a few people, only a few, who we don't know enough about that we really are still hungry for information about. I mean, you could probably name all of them on one or two hands, and that would be enough. So here's some suggestions. Keanu Reeves says Rebellious Ruth. Also Leo DiCaprio. Oh, I don't know. Dusty Nose says Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis of Red Hot Chili Peppers was a wild read. I believe so. I still haven't read that, but apparently it was insane, that book. My brother got it and was raving about it for like weeks afterwards.
Yeah,
Keith Richards.
Obvious. Gareth, you just mentioned like one or two hands. I think, if Cyril were to write an autobiography, it would just be two hands just looking for a handout. And that would be a very short book, because you could basically chronicle all of the handouts that he's got and, pushed himself towards. That should be a picture book.
Well, one of the reasons I asked this question is not just because of your story of seeing how expensive Prince Harry's book was, but I'm going to a documentary. Sia Khaleesi's story is coming out in documentary form on Sunday, which I'm excited about. And the premiere is happening. It's called Rise, the Sia Khaleesi story. So that could be really interesting.
Yeah, it's a genuine homegrown success story. And I know lots have made of it because people always gravitate towards whoever the hottest property in celebrity land is. But I think if you really just take away all the sort of hype and extra light, it's still a wonderful story. It's still an incredible story how the guy literally came from nothing, literally. And he is probably the most recognizable South African globally, if you really think about it.
And he's got like a very safe reputation. He's not out there causing trouble, getting out of hand, behaving extremely badly. He's not one of those.
Yeah. Look, he's a sports guy. He's sliding into women's DMs. That's come out a few times. So it's maybe not be
Rachel doesn't want to share
naive around that.
Yeah. Rachel doesn't want that to be written into any story, though, I'm sure. All right, so here's a game. We're going to play a game. Simphiwe, Ben, are you ready to play a game? All right. The game is called How Fucked Are We? Okay, so I'm going to show you a few pictures, and I'm going to show you a few videos that'll give you an idea of what the world is like at the moment, and you can see how fucked the world is. All right, let's start off with a woman in a capsule. Now, how long ago did COVID come to an end here in South Africa? Only a few months. It was sort of around this time last year. No, sorry, June, July last year, that they said, all right, you don't have to wear masks anymore, any of that stupid shit. But here is a woman just last week. Are you ready? A woman in an airport in America. Take a look at this, and I'll explain to the people who are listening on podcast afterwards what it is. There's a lady, and you can see she's got a hole, like a tent over her. She's basically got a tent from the waist up with panels, Perspex panels on the sides and on the front, and she's walking through an airport in America with this huge capsule on. So how fucked are we? I would say, judging by her, if aliens landed today, about 9 out of 10 fucked. Here is a girl who put herself on TikTok. I have removed the sound from some of these because they have just music, basically, so there's no sound that'll help. Plus, the sound in this next one could be very disturbing. This is a girl who's decided to share, a German girl, decided to share her eating habits with us. Here we are. Take a look at this. She's enormously fat. She's got whipped cream that she's emptying into her mouth from the can. She's made what looks like a whipped cream beard around her chin. And then there's this huge pile of whipped cream on her stomach, in which I think there is lodged a donut or some other sweet tart or something like that. Anyway, she's decided to share this video with us. This is humanity at its best, obviously. And I would say, judging by her, we're about a 10 out of 10 fucked. Then
it's interesting though that she's taken the pride of having a ring light for the video.
Yes, everyone is famous enough to require a ring light these days, Ben. All right, here are some pictures to give you an idea, and you tell me how fucked you think we are. So this is the front row of a fashion show this week with an unknown Kardashian at the extreme left, someone who looks like Kylie. Okay, Kylie Kardashian. Then we've got, or Jenner. Then next to her looks like a very tattered and torn Barbara Streisand. And then I think it's Dua Lipa, or
No, it's
who is it?
Doja Cat.
Doja Cat, right? Okay, Doja Cat, who's covered in red. She's even got red paint all over her face and head, and what appears to be like
diamonds. In fact,
diamonds. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
And this was like for Fashion Week, and this was her look, and I was still like, what the hell? Because it's Kylie Jenner who came with a whole lion's head. That was her outfit, and I was like, what the hell? And then this one is covered in like these diamond red, like I was just, guys, it's a lot.
So these two, especially here, Kylie Jenner and Doja Cat. I mean, these two are an example of people whose lives are just not, they're not important or consequential enough. They do not have enough to worry about in their lives. If this is what they do, they dress up like this for someone else's fashion show. Just bear in mind, the show is not about them. Nobody came to see them.
Of course it's about them. The show is always about them. They leave the house thinking the show is about them. I'm not too worried about Doja Cat. I mean, there's a person that calls himself Doja Cat. What's happening with the lion in that pic? Is that a handbag?
No, it's the dress. It's the dress.
Is she wearing the lion?
Yes. So the head of the lion's like on the side of her dress, and that's like the main piece of it. And it's just like a black silhouette. Very simple dress, and people are just like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is crazy. You guys just walk around with lions on your shoulder.
If these are the people that young women are looking up to, how fucked are we, Simphiwe and Ben?
It's tickets, especially those two, because they're doing the utmost. A lot of people have been seeing Doja kind of go down this rabbit hole, because she started out in the industry like, oh, this young girl doing amazing things, and then she just started rocking up at these red carpets looking like somebody beat her up, and they're like, oh, it's just part of the look. And then she's just been deteriorating before our eyes. So even that outfit, we're all like,
outrageous.
No, man.
Guys, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that picture. These are people who. Okay, look, the lion thing, my biggest problem is that people must leave lions alone. This English rugby team call themselves the Lions. You guys have got to use your own fucking animals. People coming here, like, lions are African. Let's stop with that now. I've never been the biggest person about cultural appropriation because I'm not very cultured. But enough with the lions now.
Okay.
Don't try to say this whole symbol of strength kind of thing. Leave them alone.
How fucked are we? Here's an ad that was put out this week. I'm not sure who the ad is meant to benefit, but it's a full page ad in a magazine, and it says people have periods, and instead of, there is not one woman in this picture, it's a whole bunch of men, from what I can tell, and these men are appropriating. They're basically putting on woman face. They are pretending that they are women. Whether or not they're transgender or they believe themselves to be transgender is completely besides the point. But the ad is people have periods, not women have periods. So I don't know, Simphiwe, what do you think of this? How fucked are we?
This is absolutely outrageous. Like, if there's one thing, I'm just like, guys, this is drawing the line. This is, in fact, it's over the line. I can't. This.
I mean, you can tell that it's men who are pretending to be women and have a fetish about like dressing up or going around masquerading, because women are not advertising their periods. Women know what that is. Women know how much of a pain that is to deal with every month. They know it's not the most convenient thing. It doesn't always make your life better. These guys who are trying to appropriate womanhood obviously have no idea.
So, Gareth, you made a very good point there. I think we must make a thing of woman face, because ultimately, blackface is people just assuming a race, right? It makes them feel very trivial. It's a sign of this. It's a character assassination kind of thing. When are we going to actually value women enough to have woman face as a thing? Because for the last 5 years or so, it just feels like women are being degraded left, right, and center. You got guys playing women's sport. This period bullshit right here. It's like you're just trivializing. Being a woman is probably the most fundamental, important thing about society, right? They give birth to the next generation every time.
Yeah.
Why are they being trivialized so much? Why, and why are the feminists not upset about that ad?
Well, that's a whole other discussion for another day, but we're playing the game. How fucked are we? And I just thought this Friday, let's remind ourselves of the extremes of humanity. That's the worst one for you so far?
By far. Okay.
All right. How's this one? This could only appear in the Guardian newspaper, which is the worst rag in Britain. Emma Beddington, who looks like the kind of person who no one on earth would want to have living with them or spending time with them or being romantic with, says in her opinion piece, if plants are so intelligent, should we stop eating them? Yes, this is a serious article from The Guardian. Recent research suggests plants may be able to learn and communicate. This really put me off my baked potato. How fucked are we with her?
No one has ever wanted to take Emma to Beddington.
No, I don't think so either. All right, here's another one. This is a tweet from Dr. Anita B. Eating, which I think may be a parody account, but nonetheless, this is something. There are people who actually feel this way. Obese is the N-word for plus-sized people. First of all, exactly. First of all, no, honey, it isn't, and you don't know what the N-word is all about. But second of all, obese is just a medical categorization for enormous monsters like you. And you can see by her picture, whether it's a parody account or not, she has no idea of how to stop eating. None whatsoever. Again, how fucked are we, Ben and Simphiwe?
I would go with that being a fantastic troll, because people who are victims aren't funny and they're not very clever and they need to be eaten. That's funny and clever.
All right, here's another one, especially for Simphiwe. I know how she's going to love this. This is a person who has modified their body. They've got tattoos to make themselves look like they have blue skin. They've modified their body to be a black alien, and now restaurants are scared to serve me. They've put in horns. Yeah. So, I mean, we obviously don't feel sorry for this person, but how fucked are we as a species?
Yeah, I mean, there was a very good comment just back here from Lindy. Is how fucked are they? These people they're absolute minorities. And unfortunately, because the internet sells on attraction and attention, this isn't even a thing. Okay. All right. Well, then, I mean, this one probably doesn't really touch sides compared to some of the others. How about this? This is a picture of a baby being fed, and it says here, baby was losing weight and vomiting. At the hospital, doctors discovered that the baby was starving from an almond milk diet. The parents were feeding it almond milk because they were left-wing hippies, and the baby was not able to, put on any weight or even use this rubbish nutrition provided by almonds. So it took the hospital to figure this out. Yeah, those people should be arrested. They should be arrested straight away, taken out of society. And maybe it's actually time we stop calling almond milk. It's almond water. Let's not get too caught up in this. If you're lactose intolerant, great. You'll know it's a substitute. You don't have to be sold it. I mean, milk has to come from a mammal. Mammary glands is where we get our name mammal. So if we have mammary glands as mammals and other mammals have mammary glands, then milk has to come from mammary glands. So anything that doesn't come from a mammal is not milk. Let's just be clear about that. That's already an established scientific fact. You're going to use the word milk. Let's only use that for living animal mammals. Yeah.
So the parents weren't breastfeeding.
No, the parents weren't breastfeeding. They were feeding this child almond milk in a bottle.
Oh my gosh, child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Call the popo. Call someone. That's child abuse. Nope.
All right, I've got two more for you because I know you're having fun. I know you two are loving this. It's making you feel more and more normal every single second. But Here's a girl who wants to explain why she broke up with her ex. Again, they've got some inane music that everybody uses in their TikToks in the background. But take a look at why she broke up with her ex, and maybe I can have your opinions, Ben and Simphiwe. Let's go. There she is. She goes, my ex is my ex. Why? Won't get vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
Also, doesn't believe in the vaccine.
Oh, wow.
Also, an anti-vaxxer, which all the same thing, by the way. Also, isn't vaccinated. Again, same thing. And doesn't trust science. And that's why this smug girl broke up with her boyfriend. Or I assume boyfriend.
Good for him.
Good for him,
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad they broke up. If those are the reasons why you broke up with your man, and I don't know if he's an incredible human or not, but it says more about you, darling. And I think he's better off without you. That's it.
That is the greatest bullet dodge video I've ever seen. And the thing is, like she's attractive, so other guys will pretend to like her for sex. I mean, for many years to come. But
sure.
No, I mean, it's definitely the fault is with her there. It's not him.
And I've saved the best till last, guys, because I don't know what kind of man, and I mean man as in, dignified, self-assured, confident, manly man would ever put a video like this on social media. But this guy decided to share this with the world. And I really hope you're watching us on YouTube this morning, because you'd be missing out otherwise. And I'd love your comments after this, Ben and Simphiwe. Are you ready?
Ew. I beg Chungus, Morty, Rick and Morty. Meow, 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 meow. Hey, kitten. Ooh.
What? Wait, what's going on?
Raised on almond milk.
What? I mean, what is that? Simphiwe says. So okay, it's a guy. It looks like a guy. He's got long hair and a beard, but he also makes these funny kitten and then screaming and shouting noises and kind of just squealing. Like, I don't know even how to describe that sound.
He posted that. He posted himself acting all sorts of crazy, and then you post that.
Yeah. And what kind of a person would actually choose to put that on the internet? Nobody put that on without his permission or knowledge. He put that on. How fucked are we?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a philosophical answer here, Gareth, because this is exactly like the other ones. We're not fucked. They fucked. If we must stop stooping to their levels. I know it's a bit of a Friday laugh, but I think a lot of people keep looking at this like these are the mirrors of society. These are like the skid marks of society. Actual skid marks. Skid marks on someone else's underwear as well, more importantly.
Yeah, guys, I'm worried because it starts off as the minority. And then it just kind of grows and grows and grows. And before you know it, that is the norm. Like someone just recording a video and just being stupid. The internet, like, guys, we must just bring back shame, because this is not it. I'd like to think that in the era I grew up in, having a bit of shame and being told that you can't do X, Y, Z, or that you suck at X, Y, Z helped me to be the person I am today. And I'm a decent human. So, you know what? Maybe we must just go back and do some of the things we did in the past, because this is not working. This is not it.
Simphiwe brought this up last week, and she was spot on. Add a little shame back into some of the behavior that humans are putting out there. Shame, shame, shame. We must get the shame bell again. The Game of Thrones shame bell. Make them walk through town while everybody says shame, shame, and they ring the bell behind you and they throw fruit at you and all that stuff. I think it's necessary. That'll help humanity get back in track.
And I think it's fun as well. I would like to throw fruit at someone, a deserving person, of course, not just indiscriminately throw fruit. That'd be mean. But I would really like that. I think it's healthy. You get outside, keeps your eye in.
Carl says, I can't watch shit like that. I can't handle people embarrassing themselves like that. Ultimate pussery. It's cringeworthy. Well, that's exactly why I'm going to play it one last time, just for anybody who didn't get enough of the cringe. Are you ready? Last bit of cringe for the morning. And then we say goodbye to our game of How Fucked Are We for this morning.
Ew. I beg Chungus, Morty, Rick and Morty. Meow, 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 meow. Hey, kitten. Ooh.
The only words I understood, Rick and Morty.
The wonderful saying that says every pot has a lid. I do not want to see what the lid to that pot is. I just don't.
Me neither. No. Let's leave it alone.
Actually, I already have. It was the woman with the fucking whipped cream on its enormous stomach.
Like, what was she shooting on OnlyFans? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm so, because she has the ring light and she was smiling and she was like, okay, I'm like, is this a thing? Like, are there people out there that find this sexy? They're like getting turned on right now because.
Listen, if you and Simphiwe enjoyed that, Ben, I will be happy to share new ones with you every week, because that was just a tiny sampling. That was just a tiny sampling of some of the messed up people that you will find on things like Instagram and TikTok at the moment.
No,
so
thanks. But Simphiwe, I've got a counter to your point there. You know, people are into that. What if, because you know everyone's got like a preference, okay? Let's use the word preference because it's quite healthy. What if your preference, whether you like it or not, are people like the whipped cream girl? And no matter, and like you're a decent person, you know, you're friendly, you're social, you go to work, you do all the things, but then at home at night, you can't help but get like really turned on by that fucking enormous mess with the whipped cream. You know, there's an amazing saying what guys use, like "not my proudest wank," where it's like it's a funny thing when people look at horrible pictures. But what if, because you know, like people are wired differently, right? You can't choose who you are. I can't choose who I am. It's just me. But what if your thing is that?
Yeah, it's horrible.
What if that is your kink?
That's being cursed. Being cursed by the gods. Ugh.
But what I would say is that, like, back in those days, even if that was your thing, it was something that was hidden. And even the people that were shooting that kind of content made sure that it was on the down low. Like now, like you could be scrolling and every other video could be that. So even if I'm not into it and you're not into it, you're not being exposed, and we need to normalize this kind of behavior. It's like, no, there's a reason why BDMS was put there, and it's for the people that wanted to do it over there. I'm not trying to get exposed to that. Like, stop trying to make that my normal. It's not.
I agree. But you know, like, just to prove a point there, like Carl really gets off on that obese lady, and he's open about it. Carl, I mean, obviously I feel what you're going through.
Yeah, he says he's got a semi from the obese lady. I'm at gym and battling to hide it. Nom nom nom. See? See? Different strokes. You know, somebody said in the comments just now, and I want to give them credit because I think it's such a good point, is that we've equated, it's Ursula, she says, we've equated loving everyone with approving of everyone. You know, you can love a member of your family, even if they're a total loser, to use last week's word of the week. And if they're shameful and embarrassing, you can still love them because they're your cousin or your brother or your uncle or whoever, but you don't have to approve of their behavior. And I think that's the problem, is that people now approve. They want approval. And by the way, it goes further than just approval, because it used to be just tolerate me. Remember when people would say, you know, you have to have more tolerance for people who are not like you. You remember those days? Anybody?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Then it went from tolerate to kind of, no, you have to accept. You can't just tolerate. You must accept what I do. And then it's gone even a step further, I would say, where people are now expecting you to cheer them on. They're expecting you to like join in on their excitement and celebration around their bizarre lifestyle choices. So if you, for example, are making body modifications and you look like a lizard and you've painted your whole body blue and you have like inserted things under your eyebrows and horns into your head, and now we're expected not only to tolerate you, not only to accept you and not look at you, by the way, because if you look at them funny, they go, what are you looking at? You're like, excuse me, you look like that and you don't want me to look? But now you also have to celebrate. So when you see them walk into the room, you just go, oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You're meant to lie to yourself that it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, like you look at again in the comments, Sivan just gets back to the fundamentals. And, you know, Gareth, with this new studio you're going to, I think you need a new merch line. We just need to start selling shirts that say "Stop Nonsense."
We are going to.
We need to put it into the public Discord out there. You need to stop nonsense.
Yes,
absolutely. No, that's what we're going to do. That's pretty much our theme for the year, Ben. Is that this year we're stopping the nonsense because there's too much of it. There's just no room for non-nonsense.
If if Ginger Winger can sell his autobiography for 616 ronds, although apparently it's cheaper on Tequila, then I
Okay.
think you could knock out a Stop Nonsense shirt for the same amount of money. People will buy it. It'll be useful.
Probably.
It'll define all of those who believe in nonsense being stopped, which I think is also a good thing to unite around. Yeah,
Yes.
gotta stop it.
All right. Borge is not going to be able to join us this morning from Texas, where he's busy at a car show, but I want to show you some of his pictures, and he can tell us what's going on here later on. That is, look at how cool that Uber looks, by the way. Is that a glass roof? Phenomenal.
Ooh.
Find out about that. Here is a county jail backdrop for one of the cafes, which is quite cool. George is standing next to a Tesla and having a cargasm. It's the NADA show that he's at, if you wanted to know exactly what he's doing in Texas. Here he's looking cold. Apparently it's been freezing in Texas. And, Texas is meant to have like a temperate climate. So we got lots to talk to George about when he comes back on the show next week. All right. Ben, you have some information for us this morning. We always learn new things on the show. It's not just about us criticizing woke culture or laughing about people who've done ridiculous and stupid things on the internet. We also have a kind of education element to what we do here. And you have been looking into the origin of the word motherfucker, which I think is really important. I mean, this is Samuel L. Jackson's most important word. He made it mainstream. He's still the only guy who can say it with any real weight and gravity. So tell us about the word motherfucker and tell us where it comes from.
I've always found it quite intriguing because as a word, if you take it on a very literal basis, it's really quite something.
Yeah.
To be known as a motherfucker, in no way can it, in a literal sense, can it be healthy or at least in any way positive. Like you would never want to fuck your mother, right? So it was first used in, I think, 1890. There was a trial going on with two grieving parties, and this one person was just so irate that out of nowhere, and it was written in the court transcripts, they referred to this person as a bastard son of a bitch motherfucker.
Wow.
And no one ever heard those words get put into a sentence before. So it was kind of first used then, but it didn't become like a popular term on the back of that. People started to use motherfucker to really express the hardships. So like during the world wars and that kind of stuff, you would have a motherfucker of a day because you're being mortared and your foot's rotting and all these kind of things. So it would always express a hardship or a difficulty that's been expressed upon you by a situation. Obviously, there were certain variations of that, but only from like 1960 onwards did motherfucker actually change because of R&B's like influence and popular music. Motherfucker started getting used as like almost a sign of appreciation and respect. So we've gone from it being an insult to being a sign of hardship, to then being someone who's endured hardship and has come out the other side. So if you were seen as like someone who was like, if you call someone like a badass or you call someone like hard, like person who'd done something, they became known as motherfuckers because they've endured what was the motherfucking, which was the hardship. And there was a lot of kind of deviations around the origin. Back in slave times, people believed that it was from there when the slave owners used to obviously impregnate their slaves. Therefore, they were called motherfuckers because they were trying to, sully the bloodlines of these families. But that wasn't actually how it was used. Yes, the practice happened, but they were never called motherfuckers. And then from the back of that, like more songs started using it. And that's how a lot of words get, obviously appropriated into our culture. Oh. And then with more songs being used and more characters being glorified as motherfuckers, that is where we get it to its absolute zenith, which was Samuel L. Jackson and the way he used it. So it started out as a brazen insult to then start up to like camaraderie almost, how people endured these motherfuckings together. And then it is what it is today.
Two things, just immediate observations. In fact, three. First one, if you call someone a tough motherfucker, that is high praise. That's a compliment. That person has been through war zones. They've survived cancer. They've managed to survive 2 or 3 partners who were just absolute devilish, evil sacks of shit. If you're a real motherfucker, you're a strong, unbelievably powerful, tough individual. So I think that's a great word for describing those people. I've used it myself. Second observation is that the best use of that term was in Snakes on a Plane, when Samuel L. Jackson, who really is he's the fountain of this word. He's the one who uses it with the most confidence and alacrity.
Yeah.
He goes, "Man, I have had enough of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane," which is the best line in all movie history. It just makes all the others, fade into insignificance. And then the third thing is that, and there's a good point being raised by Carl, it doesn't have to be your own mom that you think of when you say the word motherfucker. In fact, it's very disturbing if you think of your own mom. What you should effectively think about is other mothers. And let's face it, the dating pool, Ben, for people like you, late 30s, early 40s, for me, is that there are only mothers. Yeah, it's a motherfucker, because really, most of the girls have already had a kid with some other guy, and really that's the pool that you got to choose from, unless you're very, very lucky or you go very young. So, I mean, this is a reality.
No, but I mean, like, the thing is, like, you and Carl are deviating past, like, Samuel L. Jackson and the eternal quote that you just mentioned there. It was the perfect use of motherfucker, because the motherfucking snakes, they're hardcore, right? They're absolute adversaries. And then the motherfucking plane was what housed this challenge. So the motherfucker was endured, and Samuel L. Jackson was the motherfucker who actually just encapsulated
the enduring. Yeah. It's beautiful.
So now it's not really like a incestuous kind of thing. It's not really that crude even. It's just putting a phrase to the enormity of a challenge, and those who endure them are motherfuckers.
Just quickly, two forms of this word. Tracy spells it Mother and then fucker properly. But of course, the better spelling is the one that Steve uses here. Mutthfuckas, which is motherfuckers. You got to say it properly.
Yeah, again, it's like, this is how language evolves. We get our little dialects, and it's great. Same meaning.
All right, but I prefer the spelling in Steve's version. I think that's right, because it sounds more like Samuel L. Jackson saying motherfucker. If you say motherfucker, it doesn't sound as good.
Yeah, because Barry Ronger's reviews back in the day, the late great Barry Ronger, he never ever would say, "Well, the movie was a bit of a motherfucker to start with the opening dialogue." But thankfully, I endured that, and it was an absolute scintillating finish. Context is so key.
I have used it as a negative in traffic. If someone cuts you off, or they're driving really slowly in front of you, or whatever, I'll sometimes go motherfucker.
Yeah,
not a
because
positive.
you just endured a hardship. You've just endured a hardship, and that person has thought, "Fuck this! I'm doing whatever I want."
Right. Okay, got you. Simphiwe, you don't use that word. You've got a much too clean mouth. You would never say things like that. Am I right?
That is very much correct. But don't get on my wrong side, because I just might cut you out until Jesus comes back. So, don't try me.
Oh, that's so great. All right, so now we've learned the origin of a very important word, which is an essential part of everyone's lexicon. And then just finally, any last shots from Ben and Simphiwe for this morning? We've got a couple of minutes left of the show, and then we've got to start our Fridays. We've got lots to do this weekend. I'm sure, Ben, you busy this weekend? You're going to do any cool activities?
No, I went away last weekend, and I've just realized that I'm spending way too much money on this whole "you must live your life" bullshit. I'm just going to try to keep it I'm going to try to keep it a little bit local, actually. I'm going to have one of those times where maybe I appreciate my apartments, maybe stay at home. But also, it's so motherfucking hot right now that I really need a pool. And it's something that I've realized, like, there's a massive flaw about living in Joburg. I think it's a South African thing. When you live in like cities like Dubai or wherever overseas, you can go spend days at hotels and you have like pool days, right?
Yeah, and sometimes, just by the way, sometimes in some of these apartments, most of the modern apartments that they build in warm countries, you may not have a big pool, but every apartment has like a little pool on the balcony. It could be, it could be the size of one of those kiddies pools, but it's still there. It's there for you to cool down.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure. But I would like to think that hotels mostly in Joburg are very quiet over weekends because you would think a lot of hotels in Joburg are corporate traffic based. So why aren't these guys being more productive and having like pool day specials? You know, say for instance, it's like, I don't know, $500 and you get like a bottle of something, or there's areas and day beds. Why aren't they doing that? And I want to find more hotels that want to be productive like this. Like, I don't have a pool at my apartment. I've got a lovely roof, but there's no pool. I've got a bath that I use for ice baths, but I want to chill by a pool. And you phone these places up and they go, sorry, sir, you've got to be a resident to come here. It's like, fuck that. That's just stupid. You telling me that pool is totally full?
They don't let you in? They don't let you go and use the pool if you're a day visitor?
The only place that I've had success is Sky Hotel in Santon. The other one's just kind of, it's a person following protocol, right? The ones that look, I haven't called all of them, but the ones that I have chatted to, they're like, sorry, sir, you need to be staying at the hotel to be using the pool.
Oh, I think that's very unfair.
I'm not going to pee in the pool. I'm not. I'll sit next to the pool. I'll behave. I'll order from your menu. I'll create revenue.
Simphiwe, have you found any places around Joburg where you can use other people's pools? Besides, obviously, friends and house parties and things. But are there pools around where you can go and just chill?
No. Well, we have a pool at my house, so I've never had to look around. Yeah, so it's always like people hit me up to be like, hey friend, are you home? It's quite hot. Let's have a braai. Yeah, I'm coming over.
Yeah, and by the way, if you have a pool, like summer is, all you have to provide is the pool. Everyone who comes must bring everything else. You must bring the booze. Absolutely. You must bring the meat. Because if the person, it's an expensive business maintaining a pool. So you should be considerate as a guest, and you bring everything else.
Oh yeah. And it's one thing I've noticed is that people pick the days for you. They'll be like, it's hot, we're coming tomorrow, make sure you're home and we'll do the rest. And you're like, oh, great. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Something funny happened to me on Tuesday. This girl that I sort of know, I don't actually know her that well. We've met once or twice, and she invited me to a pool party. But I was on this group with a whole lot of people who were invited to this pool. Woo, we're going to have a pool party. Address was given, time was given, everything. I was like, well, maybe, if I've got time on Saturday. And then the conversation starts, in those groups, and everyone has to have a say. And I didn't know who most of these people were. And then on yesterday afternoon, sorry, guys, we're going to have to cancel the pool party. It's not happening anymore. I don't know what happened there, but obviously, just they called it off. So I'm glad I didn't get too committed.
Oh, no. That's so heartbreaking. Like even I was just excited just hearing that it's a pool party. Like if there's one party I always look forward to, it's pool parties. Yeah. But I also know that my people, they don't get into the pool, so that's also problematic. Because I'm just like, why are we here then? Like, you must be.
Well, Terence has got it completely wrong. Swim at the gym, Ben. The point is not to swim, Terence. You're not there to do exercise. I understand what a gym is. So does Ben. So does Simphiwe. But we want to sit around the pool. Like jump in because you want to cool down, not because you want to do lengths.
Yeah.
And the gym won't allow you. The gym won't allow you to like put your towel down and lie in the sun.
And just float. You're just floating there. You're like, whoa.
Yeah. This and is I also want someone to serve me booze. Like I would like that. Not because I'm unable to do it, but I would like someone to bring me a drink of my choosing. That's how a weekend should be spent.
Well, Ben, this isn't far from you. Homotso says the Melrose Arch Hotel Pool Bar could be fun.
Yeah, that's just down the road,
Yeah. The Leonardo, according to Sandile, has a very cool pool.
Look, they all have great pools, but I don't want to be leered at by someone who's like, "Are you staying here?" No, I'm not. I'm here to cool off and drink.
Clint from the Val says, Ben, I've just moved to Joburg. You can use my pool, but keep your motherfucking shirt on. I'm not having my wife drool over your body. Okay, well,
retract the invite.
Nope, thanks. But I mean, again, you're taking my freedoms. The pool has a no shirt place.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's true. Even if you're not thrilled about your body, Carl says, Gareth, will you take your shirt off in public? Yeah, I mean, I will, but you're not going to see me posting it on the internet. And what's the point of being around a pool if you're going to wear a T-shirt? Sorry, that's not on.
Like, please wear appropriate clothing for the pool. There are swimming costumes for a reason. What we're not doing is coming in like these like full clothes and like, yeah, no. Wear your swimming costume, have a towel, let's look good, let's get into the water now and again, and let's have fun. Like the whole premise of the pool is to have fun. Like, guys, no. Mm-mm.
Correct, Simphiwe. Say it again. All right, everybody, listen, whatever you're up to this weekend, I hope you get to be in a pool, someone else's pool, maybe yours. But have a good weekend and let us know what you're up to on Monday morning when we return. We've got a live show from our new premises. Ben, I've also got to show you around the new premises at some point.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Very good. Everybody have an awesome weekend, and we will see you on the flip side. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.